Welcome to North Carolina Weekend, everyone. I'm Deborah Holt Noel, and this week I am in Edenton, a fascinating town to visit. This historic town on our state's Inner Banks has something for everyone, an illuminating past and even brighter today. We'll go on a boat tour, sample unique flavors, and show you some wonderful places to spend the night. Now, I've heard the best way to get to know this town is on an Edenton trolley tour. So let's hop aboard and explore Edenton.
Welcome to the Edenton Trolley Tour. My name is Barbara and I'll be your guide. And this is Clayton, our amazing driver.
Welcome, folks. Welcome to our little town of Edenton.
We're like a living museum of history and architecture with a sprinkling of hospitality thrown in.
History, stories, restaurants, and views. The trolley tour is the perfect way to get a lay of the land.
Can you think of a staircase that's been moved 5 times? The other day when we asked that question, we had a little boy in the front row and his hand shot up, and all he said was, Hogwarts.
Smiling faces, friendly waves, and beautiful restoration efforts give a glimpse of what makes the town special today, and just how important it is to the people who live here. Now that I've gotten the tour, I'm ready to dig in a little deeper and experience it all up close. As part of learning Edenton's rich history, I'm learning about the people who made a mark and leave an impact today. Harriet Jacobs was an enslaved person born in Edenton who escaped from her owner and hid in an attic for 7 years before making her way north to freedom. Her autobiography is one of the most widely read slave narratives written by a woman. It's called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. I'm with Jonica Rivers, a curator at large with the Harriet Jacobs Project. Jonica, can you tell me if a visitor comes to Edenton and wants to learn more about Harriet Jacobs, how can they do that?
Yes, a visitor can start out at the historic Edenton Visitor Center, where you will begin a sojourn for Harriet Jacobs, which is a tour focused on the life of Harriet Jacobs here in Edenton, or what I like to call a close read of incidents. We start out at the Providence Burial Ground, which is where Harriet Jacobs' parents and her grandmother, Molly Horner Blow, are buried. And that sort of sets the tone for the experience and ceremony. You enter that experience in silence, and you enter the land and waters of Harriet Jacobs. Molly Horner Blow, Harriet's grandmother, is buried here, as well as both Harriet's mother and father. And this is significant to her plight of freedom, because an incident she writes about in times of distress and contemplative moments, she would visit her parents' graveside, and on a particular visit, she heard her father speak to her from the grave and say, "To freedom or death." She began to think about and orchestrate a plan to flee.
Tell me about the place where we're standing right now.
We are in the 1767 Chowan County Courthouse, which is a historic courthouse that is older than the United States. And this is significant to the story of Harriet Jacobs because it is where her grandmother, Molly Horner Blow, orchestrated her freedom. Harriet Jacobs' grandmother essentially freed herself by giving money to a white ally who then purchased her at auction. And that would have happened here. And her being free is what allowed her to then go on and become a business owner and a homeowner, and her home is the place where Harriet Jacobs was able to hide for 7 years. Now, many of the actual buildings are no longer here, but we like for visitors to visit what we call the footprints of those locations. So the former site of Dr. Norcom, who was her harasser, his home, the former site of it, is on this block that we're standing on King Street. The site of Samuel Treadwell Sawyer's home. Samuel Treadwell Sawyer was the father of Harriet's 2 children. The former site of Molly Horner Blow's home, which is what we like to call the site of her loophole of retreat, which is where Harriet hid. That is now the parking lot of Edenton's True Value hardware store. While in hiding, Harriet found that her uncle had left behind a gimlet tool, and she used it to puncture 9 holes, 3 rows of 3, and then she connected them to create a loophole, which in incident she calls her loophole of retreat. And through this hole, she would watch her children play. She would watch the comings and goings on King Street in town. including her harasser, Dr. Norcom. She would see him walk to and from work. Behind us is the Chowan County Jail. Now, to lure Harriet out of hiding, her children, including her 2-year-old daughter, were held in what was then the Chowan County Jail. And of course, the Bay of Edenton, which is right in front of the courthouse, those are the waters that carried Harriet to freedom. She finally made it onto a boat that was a part of the Maritime Underground Railroad, and she made her way to Philadelphia. So those are some of the sites that visitors can engage with on the Harriet Jacobs tour.
Edenton doesn't have an official museum yet, but in a lot of ways, the town itself is like a living museum. I just love strolling the neighborhoods and looking at some of the historic homes. I'm at the lovely Edenton Tea Company, where Lori and Patrick Dablo have created a beautiful space for teapots and other gifts.
Well, we're a unique combination of Patrick's his original art, which we then take the images of and turn into all kinds of products. So whether it's the teapot, the Edenton teapot, or his flowers or birds.
And when you come here and you see what's here, the water, the sky, the birds, the flowers, the teapot, which is behind our building, it's just regional art, and it's all colorful, and it just expresses what Edenton is. I mean, it's really a Garden of Eden.
But we bring all those together. There's art and tea and gifts all under one roof.
Tell me, how does this tea shop represent Edenton's culture?
We have been very intentional, Deb, about designing products that honor and pay tribute to an incredible moment in history, the Edenton Tea Party. One of the most underreported events in the American Revolutionary history, but also one of the most important. And this little teapot is a symbol of 51 women patriots who signed a declaration to King George and said, you know what? We are tired of this oppression. It has the inscription on the back, which tells about the story of the 51 women. What's really amazing about these too is that they're hollow underneath, so they're perfect for the Christmas tree.
Ah, and so these are one of a kind, right, Patrick?
Exactly, yeah. Each one is different. The base color is all the same, but they are hand burnished, so no two are ever the same.
A real piece of art.
Absolutely.
Edenton has 4 beautiful inns that are popular with folks who want an overnight stay with a touch of coastal charm and hospitality. I'm staying at the Granville Queen. Renovated in 2022, the Granville Queen features 8 rooms. My suite had a luxurious king bed. And a gas fireplace near the tub. Downstairs, the spacious parlor offered treats, lovely flowers, and a beautiful plaster ceiling. Next door, the captain's quarters, also owned by the Carolina Experience, has 8 rooms and a wonderful porch for relaxing. Just a few blocks away sits the Inner Banks Inn, a lovely property with 4 separate lodging options and a restaurant, all under the ownership of Susan Martin Sear.
Sure. The Inner Banks Inn began in 2014. This had previously been an inn way back in the day, but the properties had been separated and had become private. And now we are the Inner Banks Inn, comprised of 4 homes and a carriage house restaurant. And the span of the property, the architecture, ranges about 250 years. Right now, we're in the Lord's Proprietor's House. That's named after the original inn that was here. The official name of the house is the White Bond House, and this was built in 1901. There are 8 rooms in this house, all with their own bathrooms. And this is a classic Victorian, and it's about 6,400 square feet. Next door is the Satterfield House, and it is the oldest original home on Broad Street here in Edenton, and it was built in 1801. And then we have the Pack House, which was moved to the property in 1987. It dates to 1915. And then there's the Tillybond Cottage. We have guests that come to us from all over the United States and world. And we will have couples that will do a romantic getaway or a girls' getaway. But it's not uncommon for them to come back and plan their weddings with us.
About 10 miles from downtown Edenton, on the banks of the Albemarle Sound, sits an impressive federal-style home called Mulberry Hill. And it's a real step back in time. Good morning.
Welcome to Mulberry Hill.
Thank you.
We're delighted you're here. Mulberry Hill was built by Clement Hall Blunt and his mother, Anne Hall Blunt, in the early 1800s.
This house has been in my family since about 1810.
We have a lot of history buffs. In fact, we had the Antiques Forum from Williamsburg come just last October. We are having the Colonial Dames come. We've had Wendell Garrett, and he wrote a book called Classic America. We have a copy in there, and fortunately, my sister called and she said, "Jane, you made the cut. There's Mulberry Hill in it." So we were thrilled he had come to visit.
After a lovely chat with two more historic interpreters at Mulberry Hill, it was time to return to Edenton for an early dinner. One of Edenton's local landmarks is Waterman's Grill, serving up fresh seafood and other favorites for close to 30 years. Let's check it out.
People feel comfortable, people feel at home here. We always wanted to have a casual restaurant, and that's what we got. So a lot of our fried foods are very popular, especially the fried flounder. That's like our #1 seller. A lot of people come here just for the fried flounder. But we also incorporate steaks and sandwiches and try and do some sort of fresh fish on our special board that we rotate. Tuna's a big seller. When we moved here from Virginia Beach, we were welcomed with open arms. We didn't know if we'd make it a year. And it was just putting one foot in front of the other, and one year led to the next year. And we just kept going, and it's a little bit of magic, I guess. I don't know, really can't put your finger on it. Maybe I don't want to find out why it worked, but it did. We would tell people we're from Edenton, and it's surprising how many people say, "Oh, Edenton, Waterman's Grill." Like, we're associated with Edenton, like we've become iconic. And I just think that's pretty cool. That's a neat thing.
The next morning, I'm starting the day at the Farmers Market, which is right downtown. Grab a coffee, check out the art, and buy some fresh produce while you're at it, directly from the farmers who grew it. Another great way to explore Edenton is on the water. This is the Liberty, an electric-powered touring boat that's run by Edenton Bay Cruises, and Captain Mark is about to take us on a tour.
This is our 1886 Roanoke River Lighthouse. In the heyday of the light service, before Eisenhower's interstate highway system, all our waterways were the highways. And these were known as inland lighthouses. And in the heyday of the light service, there were over 100 of that specific design up and down the eastern seaboard. But of all the originals, that's the only survivor. And so we're very, very blessed with having that. If you go out here to the center and you turn left, you go 75 miles and you come to the Outer Banks and access to the ocean. And so that put Edenton on the maritime map. And right here where we are, this is where all the sailing ships would drop anchor and conduct their business with the town.
Be sure to sign up for a cruise on the Liberty on your visit to Edenton. It's a fun way to explore this town on the water without getting wet. As I disembarked, Captain Mark also showed me the waterfront's newest historical marker, a tribute to the submariners that have served our country and made the ultimate sacrifice. Today I'm having lunch at Downtown Roots, popular new sandwich shop with hefty portions. If you're hungry, come here.
When I was small, my mom always cooked, so growing up, eating at the dinner table and having food was always special to me. It was family. What really hit home to me was this is my roots.
Great.
My dream, you know, sandwich, salad shop.
The next two are going to be sub fennel vinaigrette.
We use a lot of meat and cheese, but also a lot of fresh ingredients added to it that go well together, that combine together. Our #1 sandwich, from day one, it's always been up in the sales. It's a classical sandwich. It's our Chowan Club. We use really fresh ingredients. Bacon is really crispy and delicious, adds a nice salty tone and texture to it. The ham and the turkey go well together. They're both smoked. A salad that we do, our strawberry beet salad, is probably one of our staple dishes here that really bring out the flavor and the depth of who we are. And downtown, there's no better place to be than downtown Edenton.
Everywhere I went in Edenton, I ran into people excited to either be from there or new to town. Longtime residents like the friendly pharmacist at Blunt's, who was happy to show me his memorabilia, to new shop owners at Artemis and Io, offering tastefully curated incense and plants. Or Don Vaughn, who's renovating an old house to make a new home. And of course, Baxter.
He's 5 years old and he's the unofficial town ambassador. Everybody knows Baxter, and he makes sure he goes by every shop and says hello. He's got his own Facebook page called Walks with Baxter, and at least once a week he stops in front of a business and does a shout out for them.
Well, all right, Baxter. This is one of Edenton's newest restaurants, the Herringbone on the waterfront, and it gets its name because this building was once an ice house for the herring that was caught on the Albemarle Sound. Today it's been repurposed into a fine dining restaurant, but it still has gorgeous views of the sunset. I met owners Joe and Stephanie Walk, who are proud to show me around.
We're glad you're here. We want to welcome you into our space here with some of our artifacts. Everything here is representative of northeastern North Carolina, from the wood that's used to the artifacts that have been donated by people in the area.
And Deb, these light fixtures are made from fishing baskets from the herring fishing industry. And we just collected them and made them into a light fixture.
And we have our photo wall here that depicts the herring fishing industry in Edenton. These archival photos are, they show the hardworking people of this area and how important the fishing industry was to Edenton. Well, we were looking at places we might want to do our next chapter after we launched our kids, and we were looking around on the internet, and we found Edenton, started digging a little bit, and we came across this video that was a PBS video about this little town. And we watched the video and said, we have to go there.
So I'm responsible.
Yes,
you are.
Absolutely.
I'll take that credit.
Yeah. Edenton was our first stop. We thought, well, we'll scratch it off our list because it can't be that great.
And it was 15 minutes in, I think, when it wasn't long.
I was like, I'm moving here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you see that drew you so?
Well, we rolled up and happened into Eden Bay Trading Company, and Malcolm greets us. Hello there. And we're like, hey, you're the guy from that video.
Yeah.
It was like seeing a celebrity, right? So we met Malcolm, and then we quickly met Eddie and Melissa that happened to be there. And they said, come out with us and watch this parade. And it was a tractor parade. You couldn't have made it more small town America with all these tractors going down the main street. And Stephanie I looked at her, she had tears in her eyes. She's like, this is it.
I said, this is what America should be.
That video of North Carolina weekend.
Every time I tell this story, I still cry, because it was like everything you've ever dreamt of. Since it was the ice house for the herring fishing industry, we wanted to keep everything as original as possible. And then we added into it what our industry is here: cotton, peanuts, farming.
It's American food, but done with this southern flair. We have great succotash, we have a great pork chop, great fish because we're on the water, so we have fresh fish, of course, every day. And we also have a wood-fired pizza oven, so we can do wood-fired pizza. Herringbone is a place you're going to experience great food, great people, and you're going to be able to live the history of northeastern North Carolina.